Hey everyone, I'm good. Welcome back to some more command block tutorial stuff. So we're still here on the super flat world instead of my normal tutorial world because we're going over our modular dungeon system. The last time we went over the concept and how to generate the dungeon. This time we'll talk a bit about the execution. So I do have a bit of a layout here that we'll go over, but we might as well just jump to how I actually plan to build the system and probably the best mentality to have when building it. You can obviously generate a new dimension if you use data packs, something like that. But if you're just doing a normal world, the easiest thing to take advantage of is the top of the nether. So lots of people like to build, hubs and stuff on top of the nether because it's nice. It's essentially super flat in vanilla. So that's where we'll tackle things. So first off, we're going to create a scoreboard system. So scoreboard, objective, add, build, check. So we're going to use this as a mechanism to check when we actually want to build the dungeon. So we can turn that on actually. Cool, it's running. We've got our new objective. Then we have a few different chains here. So this first chain is actually going to summon a armor stand in the nether. I have tag, build, and creator. I'm just labeling it so we can infer a bit of information. One, we need a special tag to know which armor stands to build the dungeon at. Obviously, we don't want to just execute it at every armor stand because that could really mess up the world. And because this is the first armor stand we're going to generate, I'm also adding the creator tag. So we're just generating at 0, 0, but on top of the nether, so 128. So it's important that you run execute in the nether to actually summon it there. After that, we load the chunk. So we force load the initial chunk of the nether. So this allows us to actually find the arm stand if the player's not there, and is a simple sequence. If you force load 0, 0, because this is the origin, we can then force load from arm stands from now on, since they should be loaded from that initial point. So we are doing double the size. So instead of 3 chunks, it's 6 chunks, right? So 16. And the reason for that is, say we build this first segment. So if I actually clear it, we can see where the arm stand is. So if I build this first segment, it's right here, it's in this chunk boundary, and then goes 2 in that way, 2 in that way, so it's 3. So we want to be able to detect the next arm stand, so that would be at this edge of the chunk boundary. So we actually need 4 chunks. So I've gone a bit overboard, but it's not too much of a big deal. You do get issues with building if the chunks aren't loaded, because the fill command, as weird as it is, won't always operate depending on the block size in unloaded chunks, obviously. So yeah, so we're just loading about twice the size, because that way we can generate more armor stands, build, and then continue the sequence of loading the chunks double the size, so that the next armor stand can always be detected. So after that, we've got our load, then we're updating our build check score, and we're starting at 0, and we are triggering our next chain. So it's just filling in redstone for this one. So then this one is going to actually test the player. So I want to tie in the experience system. So depending on how much experience the player has, it's going to determine whether or not they can build X size dungeon. So every time we run sort of this build sequence, we're going to execute if entity score, build check, this is 0. The way I do my setup, I'm going to run 1 for every build check. You can create a repeating system though if you want, and we're just going to minus 1 level from it. So if that triggers, then we can fill in air that will clear this segment so it doesn't continue to cycle, and then we will update the build score to 1, and we will trigger the actual build mechanism. So the build mechanism is the same as our initial chain that we went through, which will just generate the structure, although it won't be bisected like this one. It'll be the complete structure. And then from there, the final cleanup, all we have to do is replace the barriers inside the dungeon. So that's how I generate the air pockets or the corridors. And then, of course, unload the chunks, which is really important because you don't want the chunks to persist. So, all right, let's get started. So actually, I'll do it on this side so we can see the redstone. I'll click it. Summon armor stand. Oh, and I misplaced it. Let's try again. -1 should be -1, 2, 3, 4. -4. But we did get the initial stuff. So the armor stand's actually there, so I'll just manually trigger it. But yeah, so what's happened? We've summoned the armor stand, we've marked 36 chunks, so 6 by 6 in the nether, and then we've set the build check for the armor stand to 0, since this is our creator armor stand that's actually going to run the build system. And then we've successfully filled 4 blocks, which wasn't really successful. But then we can actually trigger the room, so we'll do it this way. Okay, So a few more things. Obviously, the whole building mechanism is being triggered. I'm in creative, so can't tell that I've lost experience, but I have, technically. And it's added clear to the arm stand. So that way, we don't continue to build at the arm stand. Has it done for multiple? It has. It's hit that arm stand as well, which is fine. And then it has marked the new chunks, still 36 of the overall. No, sorry. The reason it's marked as chunk is because I do have that arm stand. Yet I said that. And then it's meant to obviously clear the redstone. I didn't quite figure out the math correctly. And then fill in here. Yeah, I'm one off. Anyway, and then we do the cleanup mechanism. So it fills in all the air pockets, unmarks the chunks, which is what we want. So it's only doing 16. Why is that? Right, no, that is correct. So it's clearing the area around the arm stand, which is something I will have to fix. But most importantly, the chain works. And you might have saw up here we have dungeon, click to enter. So if I click this, we're now in the nether. And we're in our little dungeon segment. We've got bedrock, so if I was in survival, I could do that. And we have our giant dungeon block, our modular system, and our first sort of room. Ooh, where's my little entry? There we are. As you can see, all the rooms are built. It's nice. Got some corridors. A bit of variation. But how do we actually go about chaining these together so we can actually continue the sequence and have a sort of growing modular dungeon? Well, I'm going to build it and then I'm show it. Right, so I may have gotten a little carried away. So because I'm in creative, it just cycles. Let's go check it out. So, where's my execute at? Instead of overworld, we'll do nether. I'll probably be in it, but we'll see. Oh, no. That wasn't high enough. Sorry, what was it? It's 129? Yeah, there we are. Cool, we're in the blue. Yeah, so... it's going to continue on for ages. But it's good to know that the actual generation works. It repeats itself. Let's hop inside and see what it looks like. So we can see down... Oh, I haven't run the clear command. That's right, we'll break through. Just stand in the corridor. So yeah. It goes all the way to the render distance. Pretty neat. Let's do it properly. So back we go. We can also show you how to clean up. I can just run my clear command. In fact, you'd probably want to tack it on to probably the initial. It's probably the best way to clean it, but we'll do it this way. So we'll get rid of the clear since they're all marked, and it should remove them all. Perfect. So there wasn't actually that many segments. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 by 3 chunks. What was that? 16, 24 chunks? Yeah, it's alright. Put this back, and of course we'll unload the chunks. Although nothing's spawning, so this world won't actually suffer any of the lag. So yeah, so it's unmarked, all the chunks are loaded. But let's actually go over how this works. Though we will swap over to survival, so that way I can make sure this doesn't run endlessly. Although I do also need to swap them to conditional. Right, okay, we'll try for 10 segments. So I'll set my levels to 10. I'm actually a bit worried that you can go negative with commands. I don't know. We'll click it. Ooh. Why did it not actually decrease my experience? Interesting. Troubleshooting time. Right, I didn't put that back to needing redstone. We'll try again. Curious. Oh, there we go. So it's doing it segment by segment, because it is loading a lot, I think. Yeah, so it's got to process all of it. We're slowly ticking down, though. So 7... You know what? You know what the issue was? I did not kill the arm stands. Oh well. So I cleaned up, but I didn't actually delete the old arm stands. It's worked. It should stop running, right? Or can it honestly set me below 0? In which case I need to just add a selector tag to this app p. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. So we'll go creative. We'll have to wait for them to load. It needs to stop the ticks. Ugh. No, it's broken. What can I do? I can do this. Kill type equals arm stand. This should end the segment. Nope, I've demolished the system. Right. If I do this and maybe reload. The main issue is the chunks. So because the chunks continue to load. Anyway, I will fix it and then we'll try again. Right, mishap aside, I'm curious if it rolled back the save. Easiest way to check is, let's see how many arm stands I can kill. 35. Okay, so it didn't. Well, it probably rolled me back a little. Let's see the work, I guess. To in Tether TP0129. No, I think it's actually, I want to say 3. 3, 1, 2, 9, 3. I should be inside. There we go, perfect. Right, I didn't do the cleanup again. No, okay, so I just sort of ruined it. Anyway, easy enough to fix. There's no arm stand here, though, for me to clean up, right? That's right, it should get replaced by the first arm stand. Anyway, that's also the thing about the system. You don't really need to run a cleanup, because when you generate a new dungeon, it will essentially fill in the air pockets if the dungeon were to extend, and it would just replace the segments you've already created. So it's pretty neat in that regard that you don't actually need to worry about deleting the old structures. I mean, I guess if someone were to get on top of the nether, they could obviously see the giant bedrock boxes. But anyway, the fix is simply to put a selector on this. So levels 0. Okay, that's worse. Can I do the dots for this? You can. Perfect. So I can do greater than 0. Greater than 1. Greater than 0? I can't remember if this is greater than or equal to. Either way, because it should put me in the next. I'm going to do 1 just in case. Okay. Take 2. So, experience, add 10 levels, game mode, survival. I have 20 now. Is 20 worrisome? With this linear setup, I'm a bit worried. So we'll cut back down to 10. Okay. Perfect, and it runs a lot quicker now. So 3, 2, 1, and it should stop. Perfect. Build in the redstone, it's all ended. I can't actually scroll up the teleports. And I can't do the blocks anyway. Then we run our little clear command. So it's filled in the air, it's deleted all the chunks. 18, 19. They do overlap, so this isn't a good estimate of how many segments there actually is. But the easiest way to check is we can just go to the nether. Right, so we've got our first room. Now let's speed this up. Effect, give, blue, speed, I know, like 20 seconds, 9. So every blue should be a new segment. So this is a second dungeon. There should be 9, 3, or 10. 4, 5. Oh, this is a lot longer than I was thinking. Which is good. More than 20 seconds. 6, and a dead end. Interesting. So that did not feel like 9 or 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like. No. 7. So 7 segments from the experience. That's curious. Why it's doubled up sometimes. But anyway, it is what it is. It's still, obviously, modular generation, and it's done what we want it to do. Make a nice long hallway. Granted, it's not what I want it to do, because obviously I don't want it to be a giant line segment. I would rather it be a proper design. So there's a few ways you can tackle this. You can either set it up to cycle through a few different options, because otherwise you can't really control the direction. Right now, it's summoning a new arm stand along the x-axis. Obviously, you want it to like spiral or build outwards, so you'd have to set up multiple segments to build in each direction. Whether it's just, I need a different block. So your initial arm stand, and then you build that way, and then you build that way, and then you build that way, and then you build that way. Yeah, so as long as you create that next arm stand, because it's going to try and execute at this arm stand and summon a new arm stand away from it. Where exactly is the command? No, I think it's here. I replace the score. Yeah. You're executing at any arm stand that has that clear tag, and then we're summoning a arm stand 3 chunks away, essentially, in the X direction. So if you were to add just the Z to this as well, it would create that concept where every time it generates, it goes out 1. And that in itself is a decent design. But the way I want to tackle it is it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to control it a bit better. So I want to make this style. So you have your initial room, and then it'll spiral out. And each time it will swap to a different design. So for instance, this pink will be this pink segment. We can go ahead and... Oh, no, because I got rid of the arm stand. Put it back. Tag it. Perfect. This is connected, cool. So yeah, so the pink segment, all the initial rooms. So it's something like this. I put the arm stand in the wrong spot. It's alright, it doesn't replace anything but air, so it won't actually destroy. But yeah, so the initial segment, and then we get to the yellow, which was this stuff. So we can replace it. Yeah, different layout, and then once we get to the orange, it'll be a new layout, and the red. And the way I'm going to sort of tie in some more random elements is I'm going to have the scoreboard system run for each position. So I'm going to have a fixed size for the dungeon. So if you have, I think it's 169 experience, you generate a 13 by 13. But as it counts through, it's going to execute essentially on this checkered board as well. So each of the score check system will be here. And essentially, if the score is 0, it'll run this one. When the score equals 1, it will run this section, then 2, 3, and it'll spiral out. And then that way I can also control which style of room it tries to build. But again, if you honestly want just to make, you know, an ever-expanding dungeon, all you have to do is change this a little bit. So if we just add another arm stand to it. Can anyone tell me what I did wrong? Yeah, so I clicked the clear button, which is not set to just replace Xbox. So I need to reset up that chain. It's not too bad. I have the chain written down. But anyway, I've just added in a extra command block, so now we're on that Z axis as well. So I did want to try and clear the stuff in the nether, but it doesn't really matter. It will replace it, like I said. So we can run it again, but now it should build out, like I was saying. So X and Z, and then 3, and so on. I probably want to use a smaller number. So experience, we'll do 5 levels, I think. Add Louis, 5 levels, perfect. Game mode, survival. You know, and we can do this. Game rule, command block output, false. Now we can't see. So I'll run. Just let it run for a little bit. Yeah, I can't click on the blocks because I'm in survival. Hoping it's running. Can't actually tell. You know what? It's not, because I haven't minus my levels, have I? What did I mess up, I wonder? Yes, creative. Right, I forgot to delete the arm stands. It's fine. Run it. There we go. It's going back and forth every time it flashes. He's creating a little bit of lag. Should be done. I wonder why that didn't clear. Anyway, let's check out the dungeon. Nope, we need to wait. Oh, there we go. Teleported me. So Actually, did I do the barriers? No. Can't quite see if it's built the extra segments. It should have. Right, I can't break it either. Always something. I forgot to actually chain in the sequence. And I was in survival, I was trying to fly. Oh well. We can click this. I don't really care about blocks. Alright, the barrier should be clear. We can go back to the dungeon. So we have segments in that direction, and I want to check the z-axis. So that is what we were trying to see, and we do. We have tons in the z as well. Cool, so we have an expansive dungeon. Yeah, that's what we like to see. Huge too, considering the amount of lag it took. And again, it shouldn't crash, because it is, as many segments as it's generating, it will never do anything the game can't execute. It'll just stutter. So there you go. So because we're going in both directions, we have sort of this zigzag pattern. So it's not too huge, but it is huge enough to obviously, you know, create fun with it. And then all you have to do is tie in the build mechanism. So actually, don't use wall. Well, you can use wall if you want. I mean, this could be good for, I don't know, some arena style of map. But obviously, you just change the wall, and you can add some interior stuff, mob spawners, yada yada. We'll get onto that stuff in the next episode, I think. Anyway, that's the dungeon system. Right? Modular generation. Super simple to use. Gets results. Hope you enjoyed. See ya.